Hi there, my name is Manga, and today's video I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in 2019, near the end of 2019. I haven't done a wrap-up in a really long time. I kind of hate doing them nowadays, but I read a couple of books in between when I had my reading burnout until the end of 2019, so I'm just going to briefly talk about those so that I can start off fresh and start the new year. So I'm splitting my books up into two parts, I guess. The video will still be the same, but basically I will have all of my books, novels at the beginning, and then after that I will talk about the manga that I read. That way anyone can stay for whatever part or skip to whatever part they want. I will start off with the books and I will then move on to the mangas and comics. Graphic novels, I only have one, so that's not the end of the world for comics and graphic novels. But I will also leave the number down below so that you can just easily click it if you don't want to hear about the books or whatever. You can also know when to stop watching if you only care about the books. So first, I'm going to start off with the ebooks and audiobooks that I read. I only have one of each, so it's not going to be too long. Obviously, I'm not doing these in any particular order because don't remember, as far as I'm concerned, they are somehow stacked in order, but I'm not 100% sure. But let's get into it. So the audiobook that I read was I'd Tell You I Love You, but then I'd Have to Kill You. This was a random find on script. I don't know why, I just decided to pick it up. I think this was after I had listened to Great Gatsby and some other crime one that was like okay, and this book was a 3 stars. So this is actually a series that I don't mind continuing with because I listened to this when I was at work and it was just kind of like fun in the sense like I wasn't bored by it necessarily, but it wasn't the best book, and the subject's like, you know, it's about a girl who is a spy and then like falls in love or gets a boyfriend or something like that. So it's like hiding her identity and stuff. I did read this in high school for a project, except I remember nothing of it other than the fact that she falls in love with a guy or she's interested in a guy, and which is pretty much the premise. But yeah, it's a 3 stars, but I can see myself finishing. I probably will stick to the audiobooks. I don't think it's the same narrator. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's a 3 stars. It's okay, and I do see myself like continuing with the series. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about that one. Next is the ebook that I read, which was also the only ebook that I read between those couple of months, and that is the Alpha and Omega kind of prequel, I guess, to one of the books that I had chosen on my TBR. It's called Alpha and Omega, and it's the 0.5 in the series, so it's just kind of like a prequel story to get into the characters of the first book. This is actually just a story within many short stories, but I only read the part that I needed, and they are selling it like each short story individually, so I just was able to read that. I also gave it 3 stars. It's okay. Obviously, I was reading about characters that I didn't really know, so I wasn't attached or anything. I don't know how I feel about them yet, but I'm not giving up on the story. Obviously, it's only a 0.5 in the book, in the series, so I'm gonna give volume. I was gonna say chapter 1. I'm gonna give volume 1 a shot, and hopefully I'll like a really long series because I think it's really long, and I think this author has written other books. So if this isn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I like her writing, I could also check out other books. But yeah, it's a 3 star. It was okay for what it was, but I still like enjoyed what I read. So it's an okay. Alright, now moving on to all of the books that I physically have. Starting off with this one, this is Power to the Princess, which is 15 different fairy tales retold with girl power. I gave this a 3.5 star rating. Basically, I am aware that this is not for me, and that's why it's not that I didn't enjoy it. Okay, let's get that ahead. I enjoyed it, but not all of the stories, and I think it comes down to the fact that I knew some of the fairy tales going into it, and then having reading a retold version with more feminine power. Some were really nice and some were not, and then some fairy tales I had no idea about were more pleasantry because I had no idea what it was about. Like I said, I know this isn't targeted towards me, it's for kids, but It was enjoyable. Like I said, I gave it a 3.5 because I think any kid would definitely enjoy this. I would definitely see myself enjoying this, like even up until beginning of high school, maybe like when I was like 12 or 13 or whatever I was. I think I would have liked this, but I think a lot of the stories like just gave me bad fan fiction vibes, just because of the way that it was like planned out and executed. But some stories really did capture my attention. But yeah, 3.5. I like it was okay. I still enjoyed it, but I know it's not the demographic for me, so I have to be considerate of that. But it is a gorgeous book. Like, the art in it is so, so cute. And, like, oh, how cute is that? Like, the cover has Snow White, and I forget who that's supposed to be. I think that's from Beauty and the Beast. And the end pages are so pretty, and it's like made out of like a fabric. This book is beautiful, and I'm still debating on whether I should keep it or not. But I think I want to because it's still enjoyable and it's really pretty. So I'm torn. But yeah, 3.5. Next book is The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi. This is my first novel by this author, and I gave this a 4-star rating. I really, really enjoyed it. It has been a while since I did read it, and someone did point out that the second part of the book really doesn't match the first part of the book, and I do have to admit that it really doesn't. But I still enjoyed it. I do remember in the moment when we skipped over to the second part of the book, I was like, oh, this is like totally different, but I went with it and still enjoyed it. So I think I was aware of that, but like totally didn't catch on to it or something. But I really enjoyed this. It had elements that I super, super loved. It had some tropes that I actually really liked, and I'm impressed by Roshani's writing. I feel weird just saying her first name to address her, so I'm sorry for that. But yeah, I'm really, really happy about it. I have heard that the second one is better than the first one, and since I enjoyed this one so much, I'm excited for the second one, which is A Crown of Wishes. It's not how can I say? It's not like a sequel directly. It's following other characters, but it's within the same world. So I'm still pretty excited. I'm definitely going to be keeping this, and I'm super pumped to be reading more of her books. I'm a big fan. I really, really loved this so much. The next one I read is a thriller and is Where They Found Her by Kimberly McCreate. McCreate? I think I said the same mistake when I first read the book author's name on a video or something. But I gave this a 4.5 star rating, and I freaking love this. I remember the first beginning was a little bit slow because you are following, sorry, I can't speak apparently, but you are following 3 different perspectives, and along the way you do have to figure out like why they're all connected, or like why you're reading from these 3 female perspectives in particular. It all makes sense in the end. But apart from the slow beginning, in my opinion, it is a really good book. It definitely gripped me, especially like once you get into the story, once you get a little bit familiar with the characters and what's going on. I was so hooked. It was like I couldn't put this book down. All I wanted to do was read it, and it was it had been a while when I did read this that I felt that way. So I'm really happy with this book. Obviously, I didn't give it a perfect 5 stars because I felt like the ending was a little bit tied all together, and I felt like there were some plot lines throughout the book, or like side plot lines, that weren't really addressed and just kind of left to be like, it is what it is, and just either she forgot about it or just didn't want to address them. So I had to deduct marks because if I notice it, then there's something going on. Because if I remember these things and I notice that there's something missing, that's something, because I can forget things quite easily if a book is good. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it. I definitely would like to try reading this one again, knowing the ending, just to see if there's any hints in the beginning or something. But I'm also interested in finding other books by this author because I really like the flow of the writing. I was really impressed. So 4.5 was really, really good. The next book is an anthology, and that is The Secret Love of Geek Girls by a bunch of people, and I gave this a 3 stars. I have learned through this reading journey that I'm just not a fan of anthologies or short stories or whatever, and unfortunately this just wasn't it for me. I think this is the kind of short stories that I'm really not a fan of, because it's just kind of stories and things different. This is different media too, so sometimes you just have drawings, sometimes you have writing, sometimes you have comics, and sometimes you have different things. Anyways, point is, I think the fact that this was mixed media did throw me off a little bit, and the fact that I already don't enjoy short stories as much, I think I really hindered my experience on this. I still give it a 3 stars because, again, you know, short stories can still be good. I just don't enjoy them overall, as I would like a normal book. And yeah, it was okay. I think I would have enjoyed this maybe a little bit when I was younger. I think I'm a little bit too old, and I just got depressed through some of these because it was like just like pointing out how, oh, I'm a nerd, but like you can still find love, and it's like 25 years old and I'm still not found love, and it's just like reflecting emotions that I've already felt that I was not a fan of. But it was enjoyable. I didn't like feel bored by any of it. It was interesting, but not my favorite. I know there's another version of this. I forgot what it's called. I won't be picking it up because if this is anything to reflect, I don't think I will. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. It's a 3, but it's not my favorite. It's like a low 3. I just didn't want to go down to a 2 because it's not like I hated it or anything, so that's that. Alright, we're down to the last 2 books. The next one is also an anthology, and it is 1,000 Beginnings and Endings. I really sucked with reading this because I believe I started reading this in 2018, and I read pretty much all of the stories except for one, and then didn't read it for an entire year until the end of the year when I was like, I should probably read this last story. And I did. And it took me a whole entire year to do that. I don't know what was up with me. Maybe it's because I knew it was a short story and it was the last one. I don't know. But overall, I gave this a 3.5 stars. This is actually pretty impressive since it's an anthology for this one, but I actually really enjoyed the short stories in this because it felt more like reading a fairy tale and something that is like, you know, it's going to be quick and short. It's not going to be a well-developed novel, and I like that about it. I think I've definitely found some authors that I will be checking out books in the future or checking out their books that they've already published, so that's a thing that I was like pretty impressed with, that it made me like want to read more stories from these authors. So I'm really in love with this, and I don't know if I will keep it because I don't see myself rereading short stories. But 1, the cover is gorgeous, but 2, there are certain short stories in this that I super love. The first one especially, like, I love it so much. It's called Forbidden Fruit, and guess what? It's freaking written by Roshani Chokshi. So I love that first story, and I like other ones, but there was others that I was like confused, I didn't really like, you know, over others. So it's, again, my feelings with short stories, but I'm still torn if I will keep this. But it's one of the short story sets that has definitely impressed me a lot. So it's good. Like, if you like short stories, you'll love this. Trust me. And we're on to the final book, and it is the last book that I read in the year, and it is a book that I love and I still love, and that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahudin. I don't think I'm saying that right. I apologize. First, let me just say, I know this book doesn't get good ratings with everyone, but there's something about it that really spoke to me. 1, the writing was so easy to get into. I've never felt that before, where I could just read like not even half a page and just be able to get right back into the world. No problem, like getting accustomed to the writing, getting accustomed to everything. There were also French words sprout about, and as a French person, I really enjoyed that, especially all the swearing. It was like, it really just like made it more homey, I guess. Maybe that's why I like it so much. But I enjoyed it a lot. I think also people had hyped it up so much, and I don't really listen to hype that much. If I see a book gets hype, I just add it, but I don't look into why it's being hyped. And I think maybe that's why so many people didn't enjoy it. I went into this knowing nothing other than it's about a witch and a witch hunter who get married. That's it. I had no idea about people saying that there was a lot of smut. Had no idea about that. I had no idea about anything at all, but I really enjoyed this. I'm not at that point yet where I can maybe critically look at this, but the way that it made me feel, the way that I felt about the characters, the way that I felt about everything while reading this book, this experience was just it's a 5-star, and nothing will make me change that because it was one of those books. Like, this is not me judging a book by the rating. Like, this is strictly my personal take and also my opinions on the book. Make it a 5 stars and nothing will change that. So, last read of the year, a great one, and I've already pre-ordered the second one. I'm kind of mad that this is her debut novel, but I'm excited for what the future holds for this author, so I love this book. That's all you need to know. So that was the book portion of this section. I will now go into the one graphic novel slash comic, more of a graphic novel, and then I will go into the manga. So if you want to finish here, go ahead, click off. If you want to continue, you're welcome to join me. All right, let's get into the graphic novel. So sadly, the one graphic novel that I read was horrible, and that is Username Evie by Joe Sugg. I gave this a 2 stars, and oh howdy boy, was it a ride. I had this on my shelf for the longest time because I bought this book when it first came out. I was a huge fan of Joe Sugg. I still think his content is pretty good. I don't watch him anymore, but I want to support him, which I still support doing. I don't mind having bought the book, but this is not the best book. This is not good in terms of plot, story, characters. There's so many things wrong with this. It has an interesting plot line, but I think my opinion is that if they took the plot of this entire book, the first volume, there's I think 3 or something, if they had taken the plot line of this entire book and made that into 3 books and fleshed out the characters more and fleshed out the plot more and also just like made more storylines that made you invested, it would have been really good. But instead they rushed into the plot and they rushed into the characters. The characters change opinions and attitudes like a click of a finger depending on how the author or whoever wanted the situation to play out, and which is unfortunate. Like, it had such good ideas, but the execution was bad. The drawings are okay. It's not my favorite, but it's really not the worst. I have no critiques towards the drawings. They're just okay. It's a lot of work for the kind of details that went into it, so I totally get it. But yeah, I just think this could have been fleshed out more. I didn't enjoy it. I was pretty bored. I just was like intrigued by how it would finish because I was just kind of like, is this really what they're gonna do with the book? Or is this really what's gonna happen? And it did, and it's a 2 star. It gets a 2 star because I was still intrigued by what would happen by the end, but I was not into it at all, let's just say. So that's that one. Okay, going into the mangas, I won't go into these too much because some of them, you know, I've read a while back, and yeah, let's just get into it. So the first one I have is Shugochara Volume 1. This is a childhood favorite. I decided to reread this for some reason, I can't remember, and I gave this a 4 stars. I still really enjoyed the concept of it. Basically, we follow Amu, who wakes up to having like eggs in her bed, and turns out these eggs are her true self, so they're reflections of who she truly wants to be. And turns out there's a lot of kids, because she's a kid, she's in elementary school, who have these eggs to reflect who they truly want to be. And it is a really cute story. I never finished the plot. I never finished these books, so it's also a good idea to just kind of like be able to finish that. I gave it a 4 star because it is kind of creepy, because it's a shoujo manga, so it's a romance manga, and you do get romance bits between elementary school kids and one high school boy, and I am not about it, but like, at the same time, it's Japan, but like, yeah, I had to deduct a couple of marks for that, but it's still my childhood, so I have to, you know, I still enjoyed it. Next one is My Hero Academia, and I gave this, well, this is volume 1, I gave this 5 stars. This is exactly what I needed at the time when I read it. This is about superheroes, well, in a world where superheroes is actually like a job you can have, and people actually are born with powers, and it's actually more rare for you to not have powers, and our main character has no powers, and we just kind of follow him. This first volume just kind of follows his journey into wanting to become a superhero without powers, and it's really interesting. I can see why so many people like it. I can see why it's such a popular series, and as someone who likes superheroes like Marvel, this really just it fits well for me. I'm excited to continue with the series, so if you're interested in superheroes, I recommend checking this out, although you might have already heard about it. The next one is a big chunker, and that is Wolf Children, Amy and Yuki. This is a book I have wanted forever. I got it for Christmas of 2018, and honestly, for a big book, it's a big chunker. I got through this so quickly that I was upset that it was finished. I wanted more of the story. So basically the story is you follow this mother who is a human, and she falls in love with a werewolf and has kids. So she has to take care of these like half human, half wolf children. And it's so good. It's so emotional. I know there's a movie about it, but I wanted to read this first. And honestly, if you're ready to have a cry, if you're ready to feel attached to these characters and just like want to protect them with all your heart, like, read this. It's so good, so charming. The art is adorable. I mean, you can tell from the front, but it's just like a soft, like, art style, and I love it so much. I recommend picking it up if you want like a really like sad, but really like something that makes you feel good at the same time. That's this book. Next one is also a childhood favorite, one of my ultimate favorites, and that is Fruits Basket. This is volume 1. I obviously gave this 5 stars. I've also mentioned this in my romance shoujo manga recommendations video. This is such a good series. It is so freaking good. I originally read this in French all the way through, and oh my god, this book has my heart. Like, I grew up wanting to be these characters, wanting to reflect these like choices these characters had to make, and reflecting my personality choices for what these characters have gone through. This manga series has really like affected me a lot in me growing up and becoming who I am. So I have nothing but positive things to say about it. I truly recommend checking it out if you need to. Basically, we follow Toru here, who is a regular schoolgirl, and she happens to discover the secret of the somas, which is that basically if anyone of the opposite gender, well, I don't know what I said, but if anyone from the opposite gender hugs them, they turn into their zodiac sign, and it is a curse on this family. And another feel-good and just heartbreaking and yet just beautiful manga. I would highly recommend it again. But yeah, I love this so much. I can go on and on about it. Wow, we're really hitting all the good, like, good favorites and childhood favorites. Next one is Inubaka, Crazy for Dogs Volume 1. This is a reread for another childhood one. I gave this 5 stars. This is just, like, everything I hope for in a book, except, like, maybe if it would be cats instead of dogs, like, that would be perfect. But basically, we follow our main character here, whose name I forget, Suguri, and basically she just goes from the country and moves to the city of Tokyo and works in a dog store and in Japan, and you just follow her story. It's really cute. It teaches you a lot about dogs and dog breeds and things like that, and you get attached to the characters as well, and it's just one of my faves. It's not a popular one, but I love it to death, so I have nothing bad to say about it. Nothing at all. Well, I have a little bit of stickler stuff about it, but it's a childhood favorite. I can't judge it. The next manga is a new series that I ended up starting, and that is Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Volume 1. This is the manga, not the light novel, and I gave this a 4.5 star rating. This is a good isekai story so far. This is about a boy who dies and ends up in another world, like in a fantasy world, as a little boy, but he still remembers his life, so he's just kind of like, you know, like a grown man instead of a little boy, his soul or something, and he just kind of goes through this fantasy world, like learning magic and shit. It's really cool. I had to deduct 0.5 ratings because there's a little bit too much sexualization towards a child, as you can see on the back here, but I mean, it's Japan, you kind of have to just go with it. But I like the premise of it so far. I like the characters so far. I've already bought a lot of volumes in this series to continue because I'm really interested. The art is really fantastic, and honestly, I'm just really pumped to read this, even though it had some little naughty bits. Really excited. Next one is another childhood favorite. I guess I really read a lot of childhood favorites, and that is Pixie Pop. This is volume 1, and I gave this a 5 stars. This is a 3 novel series, and this, like, if I had to choose a book other than Fruits Basket that I identified with so much that at the time I felt so connected to, it is this book. It is about a girl who likes a boy who, like, basically doesn't know her, and then she finds out that she has this little fairy, drink fairy, I think that's what they're called, and certain drinks that she drinks will make her do certain things. So it'll make her feel certain things, or it'll make her, like, if you drink milk, she grows, like, freaking huge. And it's just really cute. That's not the part that I connect to. Obviously, I don't have a drink fairy, but it's the love romance in this. I mean, this takes place between two, like, I think they start high school in this, and I totally understand it. I was on the end of, like, a love that would never happen, and I connected to this character so much. Like, it's 3 volumes, and it's almost perfect at 3 volumes. I wouldn't want it to go on any longer, but this brings back feelings that I had hoped I'd hidden away in my heart, and I did not, and I felt things, and yeah, let's just move on before I cry. Moving on to actually a volume 2 of a series. Wow, fascinating. I didn't just start a series, but that's Vampire Knight volume 2. I gave this a 4-star. This is like this is after the events of volume 1. I can't say too much. This is actually my first time reading this series. My friend really liked it when we were growing up. But apart from the fact that I know there's vampires, and I knew the plot from the first volume, I don't know it too much. I basically just don't trust him, and he was like a little emo boy in this entire volume, so that's pretty much where I stand so far. Not much has been said. I just was creeped out by this guy a lot, and yeah, that's all I have to say because I can't spoil too much, but yeah. Next is a book that this is my second time reading, and that is Meteor Prince Volume 1. This is actually 2-volume manga series, I believe. I've actually already read the entire series, but I wanted to pick it up again. I think this was for a readathon or something, but this is a 5-star read. It's so cute. We follow this girl who basically, this boy, is an alien, and he falls onto Earth, sees her, and is like, oh, you're my wife, you're gonna have children with me. And we kind of like get a backstory as to why he suddenly proclaimed his love for her, like claiming that he's his wife, but also like her attachment to him because she has this curse on her that like everything goes wrong, and it's just it made me feel things. Okay, for a 2-volume manga, it made me cry, and I love this series a lot, so it was just time for a reread, and I guess the readathon I read it for was perfect in that time, so I'm gonna read volume 2, and it's gonna be the end, and I'll reread it sometime probably this year again, but 5 stars, it's really cute. If you're looking for something different, this is really cute. All the next following are first volumes, so don't expect any continuations, but the next one I have is Alice in the Country of Hearts, My Phonetic Rabbit. I almost hit myself, oh my god. This is volume 1. This is actually a side story to the original Alice in the Country of Hearts. Basically, the original story is Alice, who is, it's like an otome game in the manga style, so it's like Alice with like many guys, and this one is with Boris, which is the orange rabbit. He's a rabbit. There's the white rabbit, and I think there's the orange rabbit, but he doesn't like being called a rabbit. I gave this a 4-star. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's been a long time since I read Alice in the Country of Hearts. I've read the entire series. It's one of my faves. So I was like a little bit disconnected with the characters and like their personalities, but I did enjoy it. There's only 2 volumes of this, and I've never read them, so it was just like a nice time to do that. But yeah, Boris is one of my... Did I say Boris? Oh my god, his name is not Boris. What? His name is Elliot. Boris is the Cheshire Cat. Okay, I'm a horrible person for... Okay, this is Elliot. Story with Alice. I like Elliot. I liked him in the original. Let's just finish at that. I can't believe I just called him Boris. Okay. Alright, we have 2 more mangas. So the before last one is... Almost forgot to remove the paper, is number 6. This is volume 1. I gave this a 3-star rating. Basically, this is a manga that was made from a light novel. I believe it was a light novel and then an anime and then a manga, if I'm correct. And it's a little bit spursed together, I will say. A lot of things it's a sci-fi thing, so that's why I can understand. I still did enjoy it. I like the characters, not too attached as I would be in other series, but this is a gay romance story that's sci-fi and fantastical, so I have to give it a shot. And I think the anime is maybe a little bit better than this, or the light novel as well, so I'm still gonna give it a shot. The art is okay, which is like probably why I'm like giving it a low rating as well, just because the art was okay, so I was like, eh. But yeah, I'm interested in finding out what happens next, but that's pretty much it. Alright, the last one. Oh, let's finish this. This is Love at 14, Volume 1. This is a high school romance. This is a beautiful and cute and heartbreaking one. This is a 5-star for me. Basically, we follow these two characters who are really good friends, and they've just started high school. They're kind of discovering who they are. They're known in high school for being a certain type of way, but they're actually not that way. So, for example, she's very shy and mature, but and quiet. But then when she's hanging out with just him, she's very outgoing. She's very, she runs around. They play like kids, but then they kind of like go deeper into that and talk about like how maybe that's who they truly are. Maybe this facade has just turned into who they are, and then they start developing a romance between each other, and it is the sweetest thing because it is about two people who are starting to develop feelings but don't want to ruin their image in front of their peers. That's a thing in Japan. Don't worry about it. And it is so cute. I just want them to get together. I just want to be able for them to show their feelings without any worries. And this is I don't know if it's completed at this point, but I know there's at least 5 volumes out. I have up to volume 2 or 3, so I need to catch up, and I just love it. The art is so simple too, and I think it just really helps with, the whole simplicity of it. I mean, these characters are just so good. Just so good. So good. Alright, so that is the end of my wrap-up for the last books that I read in 2019. I have a foot that is asleep, which means when I try to get up, it will be horrible. So I'm going to try to end this as best I can. I hope you enjoyed this wrap-up. I know it's not as... it's not a normal wrap-up, but it is books that I read in 2019, and basically all of the books that I've read that I haven't mentioned since my last wrap-up or whatever it was. So starting off fresh, starting off a new year without any 2019 mess, although I still have to finish one vlog, so that's that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If there's any books that I talked about that you want to talk about, I'm really interested in finding out other people's opinions, especially like whether the same or they're very different, like whether you really did enjoy a book, like in the case of Serpent and Dove. Like, so many people don't like that book, but I love it. So I like to like find out, talk to people about it. So if you want to do that, you can leave a comment down below. You can also just give a thumbs up. Just let me know you like the video. That always makes my little heart joyful, because it's nice. But yeah, also you can subscribe down below to see any future videos from me, but I understand if you don't want to. Hopefully the next video will be a 2020 concentrated video, but we shall see. But yeah, I hope you have a good day. I know it's just a Tuesday for me. I still got 3 more days of work, so I'm putting up the positive energy. But yeah, I hope you enjoy your day, your week, your month, whatever it is you're watching, your night, whatever, and I forgot where I was going with that sentence, so I'm just gonna go. Okay, bye!